Welcome to Nurturing Healthy, Happy Relationships. This is the third video in our 4 amazing opportunities for moms. And that opportunity is called Secrets to Resiliency and Believing in You. My name is Debbie Pokornik, and I have a company called Empowering Energy. And I focus on helping women, moms especially, to stand in their power at work, at home, and at play. Today I'm here with my new friend and colleague, Eleanor Wint, and actually, Eleanor, why don't you introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eleanor Wint, and I'm here with Debbie Pokornik. As she said, we are doing this wonderful 4 amazing opportunities for women, especially moms. This morning, we're talking about building happy relationships, and it's great for me to be here. I have a company called EAW Publications, and we have a lovely book out for moms, especially for bringing up preschoolers. But today we're talking about you moms and not so much the kids.
Awesome. Well, I am so thrilled to be here with you, Eleanor. We started out doing Facebook Live. That didn't work because we couldn't be on there together. So we switched over here to the Hangouts, and this is working. At least we are able to go back and forth, and that just makes it that much more fun for all of us, I hope. So in our previous sessions, our first one was on triumphing over stress. And stress is an interesting thing because we need it in our lives, and yet it can get to be too much, and then it can hurt us in our relationships, it can hurt us in health, it can just cause all kinds of problems for us. So we gave you tips and tools. Well, I want you to know that today's session on relationships is still focusing on that as well, because when you're feeling really stressed, it's harder to build happy, healthy relationships. And the same is true that when your relationships are feeling really stressed, you're going to find, or when your relationships are having problems, you're going to find that you feel more stressed. So these topics go hand in hand. Now, our second topic was on raising resilient kids, and it too is tightly tied to building relationships, because you feel at your best in life, you feel at your strongest when you are connected in positive ways with other people. When you know that other people have your back, no matter what, that you can count on them, that you can call them up and tell them what's going on without them judging you or making you feel awful. And this is part of creating healthy, happy relationships and being resilient. So all of these things that we've been talking about so far, they all tie together, and they're all about helping us to really be the best that we can be and to bring that out in other people. I want to go on and talk a little bit about something called the emotional bank account. But before I do, Eleanor, I just want to check in with you and see if you have any thoughts that you would like to share on what I just shared.
Yes, I think what we're saying today sort of ties in with the stress, as you say, and the resiliency, but also there's a game that you have. And I thought we could use that game as a basis for our discussion, that game that talks about giving and taking, and
Absolutely.
Giving to a relationship, taking from a relationship. And perhaps if we did it so that I focused on the giving in the relationship, that will help to make the relationship more healthy. And you could show what happens when you don't, because I have some very tight, brief examples of a couple of those relationship settings that I think are worth just looking at, quick examples.
Sure. I absolutely agree with you. Before we do, I want to talk a little bit about where that game came from, because the late Dr. Stephen Covey, he's the one who originally taught me about looking at your relationship as an emotional bank account. And he talks about this in his 7 Habits for Highly Effective Families. And he probably talks about it a little bit in the 7 Habits for Highly Effective People as well, but especially in families. He talks about how your relationships, you're constantly giving to them and you're constantly taking from them. And that's why one day something can not be a big deal in a relationship, and the very next day it can be. Because if you're taking a lot by accident or even on purpose, because some of the things that we do are part of the fun in a relationship, but they do take from it. And if you're doing that a lot, you're going to get in a deficit. You're going to be overdrawn. And when you're overdrawn, it becomes really, really hard to take the comments, to take the teasing and all that kind of stuff. So Dr. Covey is the one who originally introduced me to this idea. And then as I went out doing parenting programs, I started creating a game around it to say, all right, so what are you doing in a given day? What are you doing that gives to a relationship? And what might you be doing that's taking away? And here's the interesting thing. You want to be giving at least 2 times more than what you're taking. Ideally, you'd like it to be 4 to 1. So if you think of your bank account, you really want to be putting in a lot more than you're taking out. So that if you ever have a day where something big happens in the world of bank accounts, you know, your car breaks down or you need a lot of money for something, you're able to do that because you have all this extra in there. The same is true with your relationship. You want to build it up so that when something happens that is stressful and difficult for you, you have all that extra that is already in your account. So that's exactly what we want to talk about. And I love your suggestion, Eleanor, that we take a look at the different give and takes, the ways that we give and take. And if you want to share some of the ways that we give, then I will happily talk about some of the things we might be doing that are taking away. So let's switch it over to you and let's hear what you have for giving to relationships.
Well, when we were planning these sessions, one concern was around the adults, you know, the parents, because the children, okay, we live in a family setting, and the parents have to maintain some kind of stability, some kind of sense of security for the children. So the relationship between the adults or the partners is very, very important. You know, sometimes we get so concerned about making sure everything is right for the child or the children, or we have more children, then we get stressed worrying about if everything is right for the children. We forget about one another. And that's where the problems start to come in. So I was thinking the first thing we have to do is to build up a trust between each other. And if we're building the trust between each other, then that means that we have to trust ourselves. And one concern is that women especially have to learn to trust themselves. They have to learn to know that inner voice that they're hearing, that sound that they're hearing. You know, sometimes something will tell you something is out of alignment. Something is not quite right, but I can't put my finger on it. Yes, I know you all know what I'm talking about. So you have to give in to it sometimes, listen to it, and think about what are you going to do to right that situation. And one thing I would say is remember to tread gently, tread very gently, because you are 2 different, separate people. You are not one person. So what you might think is okay mightn't be okay right at that point in time. So I'm just saying, build up your trust in yourself, be able to listen to yourself, and then tread gently to try and do something about it.
Very nice. And in fact, that's what the whole give column is focusing on, giving to your relationship and building that trust. That's exactly what it is about, because that is how we build trust. Just like with our banker, you know, we are depositing a lot. They can see, all right, yeah, these people are serious. And it's the same idea. And I love that you mentioned that, because something that I forgot to mention is that this game of give and take, you play it with everybody, but especially with the people that are significant in your life. So your relationship with your partner, if you are with a partner, then that is your most significant relationship in life. I know that we often like to think that our relationship with our kids is more significant. It is very important, but the foundation that you're building for the family as a whole is with your partner. Now, please don't think that I'm saying if for some reason, you divorce or separate or something like that, that you're going to be in a bad situation. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that relationship is very important. And if you plan on staying with that person and you're going to raise those kids together, then you really want to focus on that. But this game, it applies to your relationship with your partner, your relationship with your kids, your relationship with your colleagues at work, your relationship with your friends. And it's up to you how much you're going to deposit to each and every one of those.
So continuing along, we're focusing on you, Mom. We're focusing on you today. And I said, sometimes we forget ourselves. So they call them the tricks of the trade. And the first one is make sure you have a smile. We were talking about this before. Make sure you have a smile. A smile says so much about you. It establishes who you are. It tells people where you are at that moment in time. So if you're going to have a smile, you have to make sure the teeth are nice and white. You see, you remember, you're living in a very close situation when you're talking about personal relationships. So the teeth have to be nice and white. And nowadays we have blueberries and we have red wine, we have coffee. All these things tend to darken the teeth, maybe a little bit of nicotine here and there. These things tend to darken the teeth. So we want to keep our teeth nice and bright and white. What's the other thing that we want to look at ourselves? Look at our eyebrows. Ooh, when our eyebrows are just right, everything happens to the face. Your face sparkles. We have to have our eyebrows right in time, right in tune. We also have to moisturize our face. And as some of us are not getting any younger, 35, 36, so we got to spend a lot of time moisturizing. Make sure that skin is looking right. So that every time he looks, he says, nice, nice. I feel good about this, It's not that you're just giving in to the gentleman, It's also feeling good about yourself. So that you know that the relationship is starting from somewhere very, very positive. Look at the wardrobe. Some of us don't have a lot of money to spend on clothes and shoes. Well, all those things in the wardrobe, try and keep them in tip-top condition. Brush them, keep them clean, hang them nicely. Some people have fetishes about how they hang their clothes in the wardrobe, which way they turn the hangers, what goes together with what. Keep your wardrobe just right, and you will find it so much easier to select all the clothes that are appropriate for the occasion. Another thing I would mention is the nails. We women like to have nice nails. Yes, nails have to look good. They have to look clean because we use our hands a lot. And they don't have to, well, some people like to have very long nails or painted nails. Not too long because they can get in the way of any intimacy. But we have to have pretty nails. What else can I think of? The hair. They say that the woman makes the hair, not the other way around. So don't worry when you have a bad hair day. You're going to find a way to fix it. You're going to find a way to make that hair look just right. So I think I've covered most of the everyday points that you have with the tricks of the trade, just looking just right.
I have to say, Eleanor, that it's so neat that we're able to do this because we're able to get a totally different perspective on things. I have been using this game and teaching it for many, many years now, and I have never heard anybody go in the direction that you just went. And so I love that. I'm, of course, now very aware that I had a blueberry smoothie just before we came on, and I'm hoping my teeth are still white enough and that there isn't any little blueberry pieces in there. And I love that, right before we came on, we had a few things that we had to discuss. And as some people are aware, we had to come on this late. We're on Wednesday instead of Monday because there was some stuff that came up. And so you were very business-like. And I finally did say to you, do you have your smile? Because that smile changes the whole approach to everything. And so I love that, that's what you're talking about is the smile. And it really does make a difference. In a conversation that you're having with anybody, if you smile, it helps to put them at ease. It helps to tell them that, things are okay, even if I'm not happy with what you have just done, and we can work through this. So I love that you went there. I love that you went with the hair and the wardrobe and all of that, because it is a very different perspective for me anyways. Now on the take side of this, and I should mention that you guys are going to be able to get a copy of this. My giveaway today is to give you this game of give and take. So some of the stuff that Eleanor is mentioning does not show in the game itself, but you will get a copy. So don't feel like you have to be writing it down or anything like that. But on the take side of our smile and how we look and appear to other people, sometimes we do things like someone will say something and we roll our eyes, right? Because we can't believe they're saying it, or maybe we're being sarcastic. Well, every time you roll your eyes when somebody else speaks, you take from that relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that you should never, ever roll your eyes. I mean, personally, I try not to, but I probably do once in a while when something happens that I just can't believe it. But if you're building a strong enough relationship, that's okay. That's a withdrawal, but that's all it is. There's also, if you sneer when somebody says something, another thing we sometimes do, especially when we're really exhausted from looking after the kids, from all the millions of things that are going on. And so maybe our hubby comes home and comes over and goes to kind of put our arm around us, and we kind of pull away from their touch. Because at that point in time, we've got so much going on, we're feeling the stress, and we just don't want them to touch us. Pulling away from a touch, whether someone tries to hold your hand or, just even puts their hand on your shoulder or anything, that's going to take from the relationship. So becoming aware of these things just helps you to get to know, okay, what am I doing that takes away? These are the things I'm doing that give. The smile is certainly giving. These are the things I might be doing that are taking away, and just simply become aware of them.
I want to expand on that point you're making about touch, Debbie. Because that's huge. That's really huge. There's a story I heard about this woman who this man was going to marry her daughter. So she said to him, now listen, I have a few things to tell you. And one of the things I have to tell you is that she needs a lot of touch. You have to hold her quite a bit. And when I say quite a bit, I mean quite a bit. I don't think he realized what she really meant until he got into the situation. But touch is so key. You have to know one another, so you know how important touch is. Some people don't like touch all the time. There are times when it just annoys them. Mm-hmm. So we have to know one another. But there's some basic rules about touch, which I think span most situations. The first thing is that touch really does calm your nerves. Think of a hug. When you give a hug, there's a whole chemical thing going on when you give a hug, because it releases oxytocin. And oxytocin, as you know, lowers your cortisol levels. It lowers your heart rate. Cortisol, as we know, is the one that puts on all that fat gain and runs up your blood pressure. So if you're in a situation of frequent hugs and so, you are doing something good, something very positive. It's not only chemical, but it's emotional. So there's a whole relationship between the physical and the emotional that we can keep in mind when it comes to hugs. And sometimes, you can say it out loud. Oh, I need a hug. And then you have a little sigh. And everybody will say, somebody will hear, If somebody hears, maybe they come and give you a hug, you will get some results. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The hugs make you feel comfortable. They make you feel warm about yourself, much more warm and more comfortable about yourself. And think about it too. When you are going through the door on a rush sometimes, sometimes a little hug or a little kiss, it helps. Why does it help? It not only says that, okay, this relationship is real, but it keeps the connection. There's a connection that's established. And you will remember that connection all through the day. You will feel that connection. You even feel that little kiss or that little peck on the side. You'll feel it through the day. So when the stress is getting high or things are provoking you, you can turn back to that inner sense of calm. There are so many ways to think about touch too, because things like you can always find a good reason to hold hands. There's nothing wrong with holding hands. Sometimes you could think of, let's go for a walk, hold hands. Or maybe you watch a scary movie, you hold hands. Or the knees brush under the table. Little things like this, they call them flirtations and so. These things are all key because touch is closely related to sexual intercourse as well. And in that situation, the relationship between the two is physical and emotional. And the touch, the flirtations, the little innuendos build the relationship between you and your partner. And we should try not to make it go away. Sometimes you get so tired, I can't bother right now, my head is hurting me, you find a lot of reasons. Then people begin to question, and then that trust that you are building is vanishing. So sometimes touch is really very, very important. You can hold one another in a crisis. You can hold one another very closely, very tight if there's a crisis. Things like that help to build a happy and healthy relationship.
So, Eleanor, I need to further expand on what you just expanded on, because this is such a critical piece. And then we'll move on, we promise.
Yeah,
yeah. But with our intimate relationships, oftentimes a very tired mother especially will feel like, oh, I don't want the touch because the touch could lead to something more that I just don't have the energy for right now. And if you're in that space, then the touch becomes really critical. So what this comes down to here when we're talking about relationships is communication. And it is quite okay to say, could you rub my shoulders for me? And let's not have it lead to anything else right now. I just really want my shoulders rubbed. And once your partner gets to know that and understand that, they might rub your shoulders or rub your feet or rub your back or whatever, and they will do it for the pleasure that it brings you. So it adds to the relationship. It feels good for your partner because they're giving you something. But when you're able to clearly communicate that, it doesn't have to lead to something more at that moment. And that is the reason why many mothers, especially of young kids, will start to move away from that touch, is the fear that it's leading them on in some way. So I just wanted to point that out, that you still are fully in control of that relationship with your partner, and you can do that through communication. So you're still giving to the relationship every time you clearly communicate your needs. You have conversations about it, about what you need from them, what kind of touch works for you, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It can become quite tricky, you know, especially young parents. It's always surprising how quickly a man can feel left out, how quickly he can feel the children have taken over. I don't know why you should feel that so quickly. Just give it a little while. So the onus always seems to be the responsibility of the woman to make sure that she keeps harking back to the fact that both of us are in this thing together, and just hold on a little bit more. We'll soon be back where we were. I don't know what you think. But it's, as you say, communication. So uh, let me think of another point from your game. And this is how I have interpreted this one. Have you ever been to a yoga class? Well, some people don't like yoga. But for those who like yoga, have you ever been to yoga together? That's a whole nother area. You know, there's something called laughter yoga. And some people wonder about this thing called laughter yoga. And it's something you could think about giving yourself a gift for this season. Giving yourself and your partner a gift of laughter yoga. Go and try it out. Laughter yoga is phenomenal. Laughter yoga is as crazy as it sounds and as releasing as it sounds. So you could try it as a gift, because what happens is that when you laugh, you're releasing, I think it's endorphins, you know. Laughter oxygenates your blood. So there's a scientific thing behind what's going on, even though it looks so crazy. But the exercises are designed to make you build and build from a simple smile or so to a real gut feeling of laughter and joy. And once you have done that, the feeling remains with you right through the day. For some strange reason, I think it's those endorphins that are just floating around that are really making you feel that life is wonderful. I can smile at everything. I can laugh at everything. I can handle any challenges that might face me. So why don't you think about giving your partner and yourself a gift for this season of a laughter yoga class? It works. It's something new, perhaps for some. And for those who know it already, good for you.
So this is kind of funny. I'm not sure which of the give ones you were talking about there, but you covered about a few of them, right? Giving to the relationship, figuring out what will give you that together time with each other. Laughing with another person helps to give to that relationship, really connecting. Now, the flip side of that is if you go to, say, that yoga class, and let's say your partner says, all right, I'll go. I don't want to go, but I'll go because you're asking me to. And then he goes to do downward facing dog, for those of you that are familiar with yoga. And if you're not, but you have a dog, you know, as soon as you ask them to go for a walk, they kind of bend forwards and their bum goes up in the air and their paws go down, and that's downward facing dog. And so maybe your partner goes to do downward facing dog and you start laughing at them because they're so uncoordinated and it looks so goofy. And, you know, you start to think, well, this is funny. But when we laugh at someone, we take from the relationship. Sometimes you can't help it because whatever it is just that funny. I know I used to work out a lot with my mom when I lived at home as an adult. And we would do these videos, right? The aerobic videos were really big. And we'd go down and we'd do these aerobic videos. Now, I have terrible coordination, and I get that from my mother. And so I found that it was just hilarious to watch her try to do her aerobics because she was always off the beat and, you know, doing things wrong compared to how he was doing it. and I would start to laugh. Well, at one point I realized that she was no longer laughing with me, that she was starting to kind of take it personally. And so at that point, I was taking too much from the relationship. That this wasn't funny to her. She was doing the best she could. And boy, oh boy, now that I'm now 50 years old versus back then when I was in my 20s, and I have gone to many different programs like Zumba and those kinds of things. And it turns out I really do not have that kind of coordination. So I am the person in the room that often the instructor gets a funny little look on her face because I'm the one that's going off in a different direction. So I totally understand now where my mother was coming from. So laughing at a person takes from a relationship. It's okay if you're doing it just once in a while, but you want to be really careful and tuned in. Laughing with another person is fun and builds that relationship. So give to the relationship a lot more than you take. Back to you, Eleanor.
Yes, the last one that I have is it has a lot of negatives. It's usually seen in a negative sense, in the sense that it's usually taking away from the relationship. I want to bring it in here from a positive sense to show you how it leads to being negative. You see, if sometimes we're there and we have things to do, and we have things to do, and we have things to do, and we keep asking. But it's a question of how do we ask for things to be done? Because I can ask you, have you done so and so? Have you done so and so? I can become a nag simply. But I can, if I can slowly ask about what it is that is perplexing me, or what is in the relationship that is perplexing me, and then I need to listen to the response. If I don't listen to the response, then why did I ask the question? You have to ask a question and listen to how they respond. So I have a rather simple little cartoon, a Ziggy cartoon, which I would share with you, and I'm sure it will lead straight into Debbie's comments from the negative side. What happens when you don't hear the responses, or you don't take the time to listen or ask a question? The first one I have is this one. I hope you can read it. Oh there. I think that's better. I should fix that roof, he says, sitting there. I should fix that roof. Or he says, I should patch that cupboard. I should give that floor a good scrub. I should give that floor a good scrub. I should clean out that cupboard. Is that what he says? Yes. I should clean out that closet. I should clean out that closet. I should evict those birds from my mailbox. I should evict those birds from my mailbox. And then he decides, I should stop shooting myself. I should stop shooting myself. And in the long run, he hasn't done anything. Comments, Debbie.
Love it. I love teaching people in my Standing in Your Power programs that shooting on yourself is a waste of energy. It is not getting anything done, and it does make you feel bad. So when we look at that from a relationship point of view, shooting on others is even worse, because people always believe they have a good reason for doing whatever it is they've done or whatever it is they haven't done. And so when you decide that, you know what, you should have done this, you should have picked up the milk before you went in to the gas station, or, you know, why didn't you go home a different way? Why did you go that way? These kinds of comments are always going to take from a relationship, because they make the other person feel like they messed up. And we all know that it's not fun to be made to feel like we've messed up. So it doesn't work to should on yourself, and it doesn't help to should on other people. So instead of doing that, we really want to be allowing that other person to just share their story and tell us what happened and empathize with what they are sharing. So rather than saying, oh, you should have done this first, or you should have gone there, or you shoulda, you're much better off to say, wow, that must have been really frustrating for you, than trying to give them solutions, or what we call unsolicited advice. So love it. I love the Ziggy ad. I know for some of you, you might have had a little bit of trouble seeing things because the computer, at least on my end, kept getting hung up, because Eleanor and I both have a little bit of internet issues. But overall, I think it definitely came through. So those are all ideas of things that you can do that give to a relationship. And overall, when you think about it, these are the same kinds of things that build you up. When people say nice things about you, when people treat you nicely, when they clearly communicate the kinds of things that they want from you, when they smile at you, when they act like they're happy to see you rather than an annoyance, you know, when they laugh with you, when they stand up for you, all of those things feel good and they give to the relationship. On the flip side, if they are giving you unsolicited advice, if they're talking about you when you're not there in a way that they wouldn't be comfortable sharing with you when you are, that's called being disloyal. If they're not keeping promises, all of those kinds of things are going to be taking from a relationship. And when we become aware of that, just that simple awareness can allow us to make sure we're giving more than we're taking. So I actually, with the game of give and take, there's an actual game that I teach people to play at home with their kids, with their partner. And I explain how to do that on my podcast. It's podcast number 4. It's about the game of give and take. My podcast is called Vibrant, Powerful Moms, and you're certainly welcome to go there and check it out. It is on iTunes. It's also on my website. And see if you want to try playing the game at home, because just playing that game helps you to become aware. And when you are aware, then it can change how much you are giving to that relationship and how quickly it is building in trust. Eleanor, do you have a giveaway that you wanted to share for today?
I think my giveaway is, I don't have a giveaway. What I wanted to share was that I am launching a new book on Amazon. So I'm going to put a link in on our post, and it's a book which is closely related to all that we've been talking about. It talks about 7 reasons why you rock, Mom, because I think moms
love your
really
title. Love it.
yeah. So I put that in as a resource. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. So we have had giveaways for all of these things. So, the fact that Eleanor doesn't have a new one today is still wonderful because she put up her whining one on the last one. So if you're having trouble with your kids whining and you're correcting them a lot for whining, that's going to be taking from the relationship. So you want to get clear on things that you can do so that you can help your kids learn that whining isn't the best way to get what they want, and you can get that off of her site. So there's still giveaways, there's still things for you to certainly take home from this, along with all that we have shared. So we hope that you have enjoyed our little, it's not a podcast, our little hangout, our little hangout today. We have one more left in our series of gifts, and it will be on Friday, as far as I know, although Eleanor and I have not yet had a chance to check in with each other. It has been an interesting couple of weeks in that regard. And on Friday, we're hoping to talk about the gift of the strong woman. So we want to talk a little bit about self-care and things that you can be doing to build yourself up so that you feel rejuvenated, so that you feel at your strongest and are ready to go out there and take on the world. Because really, a lot of us as moms are doing that on a regular basis. We might as well feel good about doing it. So we hope you can join us on Friday. We hope that you will share this one, comment, ask questions. It was meant to be more interactive than it is. We can still do that if you ask those questions or put up your comments on the actual video itself. Eleanor and I will both be checking. So thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Eleanor, for being here live with me. And I will turn it over to you to say your final goodbye.
Yes, I was just saying thank you. And Debbie, it's good that we can have this kind of easy flowing discussion. And I look forward to Friday's session, because to me that is the whole crux of the matter. A strong woman in every way. Nowadays in this world, if you are not a strong woman, you are going to be at a disadvantage. So there are lots of things we have to work at from we're young girls until we are big women. So I'm really looking forward to that Friday session. So I want to say bye-bye, everyone, and see you on Friday.